Good evening. I'd like to call the October 11, 2023 Town Board meeting to order. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christou?
Present.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Dodson?
Present.
Mr. Mastriani?
Present.
And Mrs. Collins?
Present.
5 present.
Thank you, Ms. Marco. A quorum is present. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Cornell, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we do have an executive session to go to. So at this time, I will accept a motion for this board to go into executive session for personnel matters relating to the Rotterdam Police Chiefs Association and employee number 10112023 with invited guest Mr. Costanzo.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Mastriani. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes to go into executive session.
Motion passes and we'll go into executive session at 7:01. Okay, motion was passed to return from executive session unanimously, and we returned at 7:14 p.m. We're now opening public hearing number 1, which is to recognize the introduction of introductory local law number blank of 2023 to amend section 270 of the Town Code of the Town of Rotterdam for a change of zone from 2-family residential R2 to multiple family R3 to convert a 3-unit building into 4 units. Okay. Ms. Marco, is there anyone who wishes to speak at the public's?
No, there is not.
Is there anybody in the audience that didn't sign up but might want to speak about at the public hearing?
I'll just be brief, I guess, and there's nobody else that touching. Christopher Longo, representing, here from Empire Engineering, representing the applicant Byron Diaz. I'll be brief as far as the application goes. I did explain this application to the board previously, but for the public's benefit, it is a request for a change of zone to 1696 Crane Street, which is on the northern end of town, off of, if you go north on Crane, just about to the line with the city of Schenectady. The site currently functions as a multifamily existing non-conforming, a 3-unit building that was renovated, fully renovated by Mr. Diaz, and the request is for a 4th unit in this building, and the change of zone from an existing R2 to a proposed R3 multifamily. There are other similar types of uses in this neighborhood. Directly across the street, there is a similar use, although that's not a R3, that's a B2 business district, but that is an existing non-conforming multifamily use there as well. So, yeah, this application is, pretty simple in that it's only for the change of zone for what is now an existing building. If you drive down Crane Street, you'd see, a nice renovated, brand new facade built on the existing foundation.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on public hearing number 1? Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion
Second
by,
that motion.
motion by Mr. Dodson, second by Mr. Christou. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passed. We'll now move on to privilege of the floor. Ms. Marco, is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Yes, Kevin Keller?
I'll just remind everybody that you have 4 minutes, and my hand will go up somewhere around 3.5 minutes, so that you know.
Thank you.
Okay?
My name is Kevin Cowley. I live at 1014 Paul Avenue here in Rotterdam. I spent the day sitting down and writing and trying to think of what I could say. And I had written many, many different notes about the frustration and the anger and the sense of disenfranchisement from my federal government, the way that they treat us now, with a gross, significant negligence and disregard for what we want. And how really at this point in my life I feel like we really don't have a voice. So we have people here that are staying at the Super 8 here right in our backyard. And the federal government has enabled this without any discussion or even consulting the citizens of this community. And I feel so frustrated because I think, well, again, as I said a few weeks back, feeling disenfranchised, it seems to me that they have violated their contract with us. We put them in power, and they're supposed to abide by laws and do what is good for the people of this country. Me being a citizen, I've always believed in the rule of law. I've always worked hard. My sweat equity doesn't seem to matter to them at all. So they just move forward without any real paying any heed to our sweat equity and the taxes that we pay. So again, from a theoretical standpoint, it seems to me that they have violated the contract with us. They are no longer a reasonable agent for the collection of taxes. Is there a way that we can shift our tax revenue? And I'm not suggesting that we not pay federal taxes. That's just ludicrous and absurd. But is there a method that we, as a citizen, can take my tax revenue and stick it over here in a savings until such time that we have an agent that is legitimate and rigorous and trustworthy and ethical and robust and working for us, the people? It is so egregious on so many levels, the frustration that I feel. And if I was to go down to the Super 8 and stand at the gate and pick up a rock and throw it through a window and break a window to demonstrate my frustration, how quickly would the police come and arrest me and take me away? Yet these people come into our community uninvited, and the individual that runs this motel, he's going to make a ton of money, and then he's going to leave when this whole thing is over. I want to encourage this board, if they have not already begun exploring the avenue of levying a very, very heavy fine on this individual, right up into just before into leave him with a penny, but take every cent that he's making from this, and then revoke all his permits, and then fine him for being in violation of those permits. There has to be something of substance here to demonstrate that our federal government cannot run roughshod over us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's it. Does anybody else want to speak that didn't sign up to speak?
Brenda from Rotterdam. This thing's not working, is it?
Gotta go very close.
Yeah, it's still not working.
At the last meeting, when it was miscellaneous time, a resident decided to, I can't think of the right word, basically telling me that I didn't have a right to say anything to you guys. In my hand, I got the Constitution of the United States. And I kind of think people who do not know what the Constitution stands for, maybe you need to get a copy of this and start reading. Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting I can't read. Anyway, that's the First Amendment. The individual that spoke directly to me was basically saying, I didn't have the right to say what I say to you guys. Not only do I have the right, I have the responsibility as a United States resident, which was given to us by our forefathers, to keep our government in check. I can't do anything about the federal government. I can do a lot here in the town of Rotterdam. To have another resident, citizen, telling me I don't have that right to do that, it's not only a right, it's my responsibility. That was given to me by my forefathers. If we don't agree with our government, we have the right to talk and express our feelings. And I just, one thing, and then I'm going to bring two things up. One thing, when I used to speak out of turn during the miscellaneous, the gavel went down in 2 seconds and said I was out of order. Every single time. But when the resident last week spoke out of turn and directed it directly at me, you waited till she got done talking to say, he can't do that. Please read your Constitution. 2 things. I'm going to hit Water District number 5. I still do not understand the 4,000 units, whatever. I know you explained it, Mr. Dobson. I still don't understand it, and I didn't get an answer whether this was done. This mistake was just for this year, or has it been a mistake in previous years? And is our water bill in January, in July, is it going to remain what it is now, or is it going to go up? Again, Viaport, I'm sorry. I will bring this up at every single meeting. We did not owe them $250,000. We did not owe them that. And the resolution this board passed for the $1 million, in order to get that million back, we also, you and I know that $1 million didn't sit in a drawer. And in your resolution, we get the $1 million back along with any interest that was incurred by Viaport. And you guys need to look into that. I will keep bringing up Viaport every 2 meetings, every 2 weeks. I will bring up Water District 5. I'm not too concerned about the other water districts. If they have a problem, then they need to come. I'm more concerned with District 5 because $34 million. I don't understand that. And I don't understand about the 4,000. You can explain it any way you want. You need to explain it like I am in 5th grade, or the people here are in 5th grade, so we can understand. But please, read the Constitution, and don't ever tell me I don't have that right to say anything to this board. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak who might not have signed up? No? Okay, then I'm closing privilege of the floor. We'll now move on to our resolutions. Our first resolution is Resolution 310 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To accept town board meeting minutes of September 27, 2023.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Our next resolution is Resolution 311 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To accept revenue for Town Clerk's Office for September of 2023.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Greenman Pedersen, Inc., GPI, for professional survey services on the Sartoli Avenue and Rome Avenue Drainage Improvements Project.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Our next resolution is Resolution 313 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To declare Parks Department vehicles mower obsolete.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. The next resolution is Resolution 314 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
Authorize deduct change order number 3 with B&D Industries for the Sewer District number 7 Extension number 2 project.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a
I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. I'll second. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 315 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Labella Associates for professional engineering services related to the GIS mapping program.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was it?
Who is it?
Evan.
Evan.
Evan, thank you.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 316 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To enact introductory local law number 12 of 2023 to amend Chapter 270 zoning of the Town Code of the Town of Rotterdam for a change of zone from a two-family residential R2 to multiple family R3 to convert a 3-unit building to a 4-unit.
Is there any discussion?
Madam Supervisor, I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
I've driven by this property. Their builder did an amazing job. I vote yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 317 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To authorize the supervisor to execute and sign a memorandum of agreement with the Rotterdam Police Chiefs Association.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Miller Herrera. On the question, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 318 of the year 2023. The clerk will read.
To authorize the town supervisor to execute a settlement agreement with respect to employee number 10112023.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. And that concludes our resolutions for this evening. Do any of the town board members have anything that they wish to say under liaison reports?
Yes, Madam Supervisor, I'll report the Conservation Committee drafted an open space preservation policy, and the committee is discussing the particulars of that, and all board members should have gotten a draft by now.
Anything else? Do any board members have anything under miscellaneous? I have a couple of notices. The town clerk wanted everyone to be reminded that the section of Vinewood Avenue from Bernard Street and the section of Sunrise Boulevard from Bernard Street will be closed. This is the perimeter of Town Hall. Local traffic is permitted, and we ask that you adhere to the traffic safety officer's directions. That's because tomorrow night we're going to have hay rides at the Fall Festival. From the police department, I have a notice about Halloween. We're going to be celebrating Halloween on Tuesday, October 31st. The designated hours for trick-or-treating are from 4 to 8 p.m. The Rotterdam Police Department is once again asking parents to cooperate by having their children off the streets by 8 p.m. I'm sure this notice is also on our website. If not, I'll make sure it gets out on the website and Facebook. And, you know, again, they give you safety tips. Make sure your children are wearing light-colored and reflective clothing. Adults should be accompanying the children. I'm sure that we've all heard these before, and like I say, we'll make sure that it goes out on the website and also on Facebook. Lastly, I want to report for down in the building department for September, 69 permits were issued. Complaints, we had 31, 16 are still open, 5 are completed, and 10 are in progress. Yes. Oh, okay. Ms. Heinel said we might actually have one more completed, so we'll change that to 6. Any of the board members have anything else to say? Okay. Are we going to continue on? Oh, go ahead.
We started our budget workshops this evening at 5 o'clock. I believe we're going to continue after this portion of the meeting ends, but we're also scheduled for Tuesday, October 17th at 7 p.m. In the office just outside of here.
So the meeting stays open, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
This meeting would close.
Close this one.
Yeah, you can have the budget meeting open, but you can close the
So I'll
town
make a
board
motion
meeting.
to close the town board meeting.
Okay, motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a
Second that
second?
motion?
Second by Mr. Christou. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And you're just